The girl on cold stone city of Nuriasik shined brightly under its 3 moons. Tall towers of glass and metal reached into the dark sky. Wealthy aliens in glowing robes walked the busy streets, shopping, laughing, and dining at grand restaurants. But behind the beautiful lights, the shadows told a different story. In a forgotten corner of the lower city, far from the shining towers, lay a narrow alley made of broken stone. The cold wind howled between the walls. Trash scattered in the air. Rainwater dripped from broken pipes above. There, on the wet cold stones, a small figure lay curled up. Her name was Valina. Valina was a young alien girl, her thin violet skin pale under the moonlight. Her clothes were torn, barely enough to cover her shaking body. She had no home, no family, no food. Her people had once lived proud lives, but after the wars and famine, many were pushed into the lower levels. The nobles called them the Forgotten Ones. No one looked at her anymore. No one cared. As the cold wind blew stronger, Valina pulled her thin blanket tighter. The stones beneath her were hard and wet. Pressing into her bones, she whispered softly to herself, her voice weak. I'm not cold. But her body trembled. The rich citizens walked by, their heads held high. Some glanced toward the alley and whispered cruel words. Another beggar, disgusting. She should not be seen in public. Their voices were sharp like knives. Valina lowered her head, wishing to disappear. But on that rainy night, one person saw her and stopped. Marcus, a human traveler from Earth, walked slowly through the marketplace. His tall figure moved through the alien crowd. His coat was heavy, protecting him from the rain. His eyes studied everything quietly. He had come to Nuriasik to trade technology. But the shining lights of the city felt fake to him. Something was wrong here. The laughter of the rich sounded hollow. As he passed the alley, a soft sound touched his ears, a faint whimper. He turned his head. In the shadows, he saw her, the small girl, curled on the cold stones, shaking, whispering to herself. The rain dripped onto her skin. Her eyes, half closed, were full of pain, but also something else, silent fear. Marcus's heart tightened. He stepped into the alley slowly, careful not to scare her. Valina saw him and tried to pull herself deeper into the shadows, her hands gripping her torn blanket tightly. Marcus knelt down at a safe distance. He spoke softly, his voice calm. It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you. Valina didn't understand his words fully, but she saw something in his eyes, something different. Kindness. Marcus slowly reached into his pack and pulled out a small wrapped food bar. He placed it gently on the ground between them and slid it closer. For you, he said softly. Valina stared at the food. Her stomach growled painfully. But she hesitated. Was this a trick? Would she be punished for taking it? Marcus stayed still, giving her space. After a long moment, her small hand reached out and grabbed the bar. She unwrapped it quickly and took tiny bites, chewing slowly, as if unsure if it was real. Tears filled her eyes as warm food touched her empty stomach. Marcus smiled gently. You're safe. Valina looked at him again, her lips moving softly. Thank you. Her voice was barely a whisper, but it reached him. He nodded. You're welcome. Suddenly, sharp voices echoed from the main street. 2 city enforcers, tall aliens in black armor, marched toward the alley. Their glowing sticks flashed in the rain. They stopped when they saw Marcus. Human, what are you doing here? Marcus stood up calmly. Helping. The taller enforcer sneered. Helping? This one is a low-born. Feeding beggars is forbidden. You break our city laws. Marcus stayed firm. She's a child. Irrelevant. The enforcer snapped. Leave her, or face punishment. Valina froze, terrified. She had seen people dragged away before. Marcus looked down at the small girl shivering on the cold stones. He clenched his jaw. No, I won't leave. The enforcer stepped closer. This is your final warning, human. Marcus didn't move. The rain poured harder. Thunder cracked in the sky. In that moment, something inside Valina's heart changed. For the first time, someone refused to turn away. The enforcers glared, but didn't attack. One of them spoke sharply. The council will hear of this. You've made a mistake, human. They turned and left, their boots splashing through the puddles. Marcus slowly knelt again, looking at Valina gently. You don't have to be alone anymore. Tears streamed down her cheeks as her small voice whispered again. No one ever stayed. Until you. Above them, The glowing towers of Nuria 6 sparkled coldly, but in this dark corner, something warm had finally begun. A simple act of kindness, and everything was about to change. The first sheltered rain continued through the night. Water ran like rivers through the broken stones of the lower city. Valina sat under a small broken roof, her little body wrapped tightly in the thin blanket Marcus had given her. Marcus returned early in the morning. He carried a small metal box in one hand and warm food in the other. As soon as Valina saw him, her eyes lit up. She didn't run. She didn't hide. She waited quietly, her trust growing with every moment. Marcus knelt near her, placing a steaming cup of warm broth into her hands. Here, drink. You need strength. Valina took the cup slowly, drinking it carefully. The warmth filled her cold body. A small smile appeared on her face. You came back, she whispered. Marcus smiled. Of course. I said you don't have to be alone anymore. The rich citizens continued to pass by, pretending not to see them. Some looked in disgust, shaking their heads. A human wasting time on low-born trash. One noble sneered. He'll regret this, another muttered. Marcus heard them, but ignored their cruel voices. His focus stayed on Valina. He looked around. The alley. The stones were wet and cold. The wind still cut through every corner. This was no place for a child. We need to build something better, Marcus said softly. He opened the metal box. He brought a small portable human toolkit. He began gathering loose stones, stacking them carefully around the small corner where Valina slept. What you do? Valina asked in her soft voice. A shelter, to keep you warm, to keep you safe for hours. Marcus worked, cutting stones with his laser tool, sealing cracks, building strong walls around the tiny space. The wind no longer reached Valina. The cold air was blocked. The small stone shelter stood strong. Valina watched him with wide eyes. No one had ever done something like this for her. Not her own people, not the rich citizens, only this human. Why? You help me? She asked softly. Marcus paused, looking at her gently. Because someone should have helped you long ago. Tears filled Valina's eyes, but this time they were not tears of pain. They were tears of hope. Days passed. Every morning, Marcus returned with food, warm blankets, and supplies. Each day, he added more to the small stone shelter, a stronger roof, a soft bed made from warm materials, even a small heating unit. Valina began to speak more. Her words were still simple, but she tried hard to learn. Marcus, good, she said one day with a small shy smile. He chuckled. And you're strong, Valina. But while hope grew in the shadows, anger was rising above. In the tall council tower, Lord Vexer, a powerful noble, slammed his hand on the table. This human is causing trouble, feeding beggars, building shelters, teaching hope. Another council member nodded. If others see him, they may demand more freedom. Our control will weaken. Vexer's eyes burned with cold fire. Send the enforcers again. Warn him. If he does not stop, we will handle it permanently. The next day, as Marcus worked, the enforcers returned. This time, more of them. Their leader, a tall alien with sharp eyes, stepped forward. Human, you have ignored our warnings. Marcus stood calmly. I'd have broken no true law. I'm only helping a child. Your actions disturb the balance. Leave now or face punishment. Valina hid inside the shelter, peeking out with fearful eyes. Marcus kept his voice firm, but respectful. I will not leave her to die on cold stones. The leader's face tightened. This is your final warning. The enforcers left, but their threat was clear. That night, as the moons glowed above, Marcus sat beside Valina inside the warm little stone shelter. She looked at him with wide eyes. They come again? Marcus nodded. Yes, but don't be afraid. I won't let anything happen to you. Valina gently touched his arm, her voice trembling but full of trust. You stay. Always. Marcus smiled warmly. Always. Far above. Lord Vexer watched through a secret drone. So be it. He hissed. If kindness won't stop him, fear will. The real danger was only beginning. The enforcer's warning. Next morning, the city of Nuria 6 looked peaceful from above. But deep in the lower alleys, dark plans were growing. Inside the small stone shelter, Valina slept peacefully for the first time in many months. The soft warmth from the heating unit kept her safe. Her thin face no longer looked pale and weak. Marcus stood outside, carefully stacking more stones to strengthen the walls. Every day, He made the shelter stronger. Every day, Valina's trust grew, but danger was watching. From a distance, hidden eyes observed every move. Later that day, as Marcus returned from gathering supplies, he found a group of enforcers waiting near the alley entrance. This time, there were more of them. Their black armor shined under the pale light. Their leader stepped forward. It was the same tall officer with sharp eyes, but today his voice was colder. "Human, we warned you. You disobeyed." Marcus stood tall, his arms at his sides, calm but ready. "I've harmed no one. I help a child." The enforcer sneered. "You break the council's balance. The low-born must stay where they belong." Marcus kept his voice steady. "Sleeping on cold stones is not balance. Letting children starve is not balance. It's cruelty." Valina peeked from behind the shelter wall, watching with wide eyes. She feared these soldiers, but Marcus's steady voice calmed her. The officer stepped closer. "You are not from this world. Human, you do not understand our ways, but you will." Soon, Marcus stayed silent. The officer's voice turned sharp. "You've made enemies in high places. If you continue, you will regret it." Without waiting for a reply, the enforcers marched away. That night, Marcus sat beside Valina inside the stone shelter. The rain had returned, but inside, it was warm. Valina spoke softly, her voice stronger than before. "They angry?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, but anger cannot stop kindness." Valina looked at him with shining eyes. "You, not afraid?" Marcus smiled gently. "I'm afraid, but I will not leave you." Far above, inside the glowing council tower, Lord Vexor stood before the large viewing screen, watching the scene through a secret drone. His voice was like ice. "The human dares defy us again. This is no longer about a beggar girl. The others will see. They will hope. Hope is dangerous." One of his advisors spoke nervously. "Shall we send the hunters?" Vexor's lips curled into a cold smile. "Yes." Quietly, at night. 2 days later, as Marcus built a small cooking area near the shelter, a stranger appeared. It was a smooth-talking alien dressed in fine robes, unlike the armored enforcers. "Good day, human," the man said politely. Marcus turned, cautious. "What do you want?" The man smiled. "I bring an offer. The council will allow you to leave peacefully. In fact, they will reward you for your kind heart if you walk away from the girl." Marcus stared at him. "You want me to abandon her?" The man nodded softly. "You've done enough. She is not your problem. Leave, and you live comfortably." Valina stepped closer, hiding behind Marcus's back. She looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes. Marcus spoke firmly. "She is my problem now. My responsibility. My friend." The man's fake smile faded. "Then you make an enemy of the council." Marcus didn't blink. "So be it." That night, as the stars shined above, heavy boots moved silently in the shadows. The hunters had arrived, and they were not coming to offer deals. They were coming to destroy everything. Asterisk the attack in the night. Moonlight fell softly on the quiet stone shelter. Inside, Valina lay asleep under warm blankets. Her breathing was calm. For the first time in her young life, she felt safe. Marcus sat just outside, keeping watch. He knew the enforcers wouldn't give up so easily. His instincts told him that something was coming, and it would come soon. The night was too quiet. The wind carried a strange stillness. Far above, hidden in the shadows, dark figures moved. The hunters had arrived. They were not ordinary enforcers. These were trained killers, dressed in black armor, moving silently through the narrow alleys. Their leader whispered into his communicator, "Target in sight. The human is outside, moving." Suddenly, Marcus's ears caught a faint sound, a soft click on the stones behind him. His eyes narrowed. Without hesitation, he rolled sideways. A sharp energy bolt flew past him, striking the stone wall. The attack had begun. Marcus pulled out his compact human defense weapon. Unlike the hunters, he didn't carry heavy guns. His tools were designed for survival, precise, smart, fast. He fired a stun blast, hitting the first attacker who had stepped out of the shadows. The man fell hard, but more followed. Inside the shelter, Valina woke up. She heard the sounds of fighting. Her small hands shook. She peeked outside and saw Marcus fighting, ducking behind stone walls, firing back at the attackers. "Marcus," she cried softly. One hunter tried to enter the shelter. Valina backed into the corner, holding a sharp metal tool Marcus had given her for safety. The hunter raised his weapon, but something strange happened. Valina's fear triggered a hidden power inside her. Her body glowed faintly. A soft humming sound filled the air, a vibration that grew stronger. The hunter froze. His weapon shook in his hands. His helmet cracked. Boom! An invisible pulse burst from Valina's small body, sending the hunter flying backward, slamming into the wall unconscious. Outside, Marcus saw the bright pulse and stared in shock. Valina, another hunter, lunged toward him. Marcus ducked, rolled forward, and slammed his pulse baton into the attacker's leg, dropping him instantly. The leader of the hunters shouted in frustration, "Take the girl now." 3 more hunters rushed toward the shelter. Valina stood in the doorway, breathing heavily. Her eyes glowed softly. She hummed again, and another sonic pulse shot forward. The attackers stumbled, their armor buzzing, unable to stand. Marcus fired, quickly, disabling the remaining attackers. Finally, silence returned. The entire squad of hunters lay defeated on the cold stones. Marcus rushed to Valina and knelt beside her. "Are you okay?" Valina's voice shook but was full of strength. "I protect you." Marcus smiled with deep pride. "You are stronger than you know." Valina whispered softly, her voice full of emotion, "Because you stay far away." Inside the Grand Council Tower, Lord Vexor watched the footage with rising rage. Her power is growing. She cannot remain free. He slammed his fist on the table. "We will send the full force. This ends now." As the first light of morning touched the city, Marcus stood beside Valina, watching the horizon. He knew the council would come with everything they had, but now he also knew something else. They were no longer weak. They were ready to fight. Asterisk escaped to the wild sun rose slowly over Nuria 6. But the peace was false. Inside the tall council tower, Lord Vexor prepared for his final strike. "No more games," he growled. "Send the full force. Capture the human. Bring the girl alive." Massive dropships began to gather at the city's edge, but far below, deep in the lower city, Marcus was already moving. He packed supplies into a small hover cart. Food, tools, energy packs. Valina stood beside him, holding a small bag of precious seeds they had grown in the little garden. Her face was calm, but serious. "We go now?" she asked softly. Marcus nodded. "Yes. We can't stay here, but I know a place." Marcus had studied the maps of Nuria 6 carefully. Beyond the city walls stood the wild mountains, dangerous, unclaimed, and untouched by the council. The rich feared the wild lands, but Marcus saw safety there. Freedom. As the first dropships flew overhead, Marcus and Valina moved quickly through secret tunnels, away from the city. The entrance to the wild was narrow, hidden behind thick stone walls. Once they crossed the old boundary, there was no turning back. Valina looked back one last time. "City, bad." Marcus smiled softly. "The city forgot you, but we will build something better." The wild mountains rose tall and cold, but beautiful. Crystal rivers cut through green valleys. Strange glowing trees lit the night. The air was fresh. Valina stared in awe. "Beautiful." Marcus nodded. Double quotes here. "No one will call you worthless. Here, you are free." For days, they worked together. Marcus used his human tools to cut large stones and build strong walls. Valina learned quickly, helping him place every block. Soon, the small stone shelter became a strong mountain home. They built a greenhouse, using energy shields to grow food. Warm beds, safe walls, clean water. At night, they sat by the fire, looking at the stars. Valina asked one evening, her voice soft but clear, "Why, you stay? You could leave." Marcus looked at her gently. "Because you deserve more, and I care for you." Valina's eyes shimmered. No one had ever said such words to her before. She whispered back, "I care too." But far away, in the city, Lord Vexor was furious. "The human is dangerous, and now the people talk. They whisper about his kindness. They question our rule." His advisor spoke carefully. "Some say others may join him in the wild, to live free." Vexor's face twisted with rage. "Not while I rule. Prepare the elite hunters. We will crush them before rebellion spreads." Back in the mountains, Marcus noticed new signals on his scanner. Small blinking red dots. "They found us," he said softly. Valina's eyes grew serious. "We fight again?" Marcus placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Yes, but this time, we fight for our home, together." Valina nodded. She was no longer the weak girl on cold stones. She was strong, and she was ready. The final stand wild mountains were quiet, but it was the kind of silence before a great storm. Marcus stood on the high cliff beside his stone house, looking down at the valley below. On his scanner, dozens of red dots blinked, dropships filled the sky. Heavy soldiers in black armor marched through the forest paths, moving closer. Their weapons glowed under the pale light. The council had sent everything inside the stone house. Valina carefully checked the traps they had set, energy nets, pressure mines, hidden defense drones. Marcus had taught her everything he knew. She turned to him and said with calm eyes, "We are ready." Marcus smiled softly. "Yes, we are." The loud hum of engines filled the air. The council's commander spoke through loudspeakers. "Human, you are surrounded. Surrender now, and the girl will be taken unharmed." Marcus stood firm on the ledge, his voice clear. "She is not your property. She is free. We will not surrender." The commander replied coldly, "Then you will be destroyed." The first wave of soldiers advanced up the narrow mountain paths. As they stepped forward, hidden traps activated. Boom, energy nets snapped out, trapping several soldiers. Stun mines exploded, disabling many, but more kept coming. Marcus moved quickly, using his compact defense weapons, firing precise stun shots. He ducked behind stone walls, outsmarting the attackers with every move. Valina stood beside him, humming softly. The vibrations from her voice grew stronger, filling the air with soft energy waves. As the soldiers moved closer, their equipment began to malfunction. Their helmets buzzed out, their weapons sparked. One elite soldier charged directly toward Valina. She stood her ground, her soft humming turning into a higher note. The sonic pulse burst forward, sending the soldier flying backward into the rocks. Marcus watched her with amazement and pride. "You're incredible," he whispered. The battle raged for hours. Wave after wave came. The mountain was filled with smoke and flashes of light. But Marcus and Valina fought together perfectly. Each time they pushed back the soldiers, the council grew more desperate. High above, Lord Vexor watched from his command ship, his face twisted with rage. "Enough," he roared. He activated a massive ground weapon, a heavy plasma cannon mounted on a dropship. "Destroy the house." The large cannon fired a powerful blast toward the stone home. Marcus saw the bright energy beam coming. He grabbed Valina and pulled her down behind the strongest wall. Boom! The ground shook violently. Stones flew everywhere. But the strong walls Marcus had built held firm. The house stood inside. Valina opened her eyes. She was safe, still strong, she said softly. Smiling, Marcus laughed. "You're stronger than this mountain." Finally, after losing too many soldiers and failing to break their defenses, the council forces pulled back. The battle was over. The people of Nuria 6, watching from afar, had seen everything. The story of the human who protected a forgotten girl spread quickly. The citizens, rich and poor, began to question the council's rule. Small protests grew in the cities, then larger ones. The world was changing. Days later, as the council tower shook with protests, Lord Vexor was forced to step down. The council's power collapsed. The people chose a new path, one of freedom, equality, and hope. Back in the mountains, Marcus and Valina stood together in front of their strong stone home. The world had changed because of one simple act of kindness. Asterisk, the human who built her a home world of Nuria 6, was no longer the same. The tall towers still stood, but their lights shine brighter now, not with false pride, but with new hope. The council was gone. The people were free. No more cold stones for the forgotten. The weak were no longer ignored. The poor were no longer invisible. And far beyond the city walls, in the peaceful wild mountains, stood a small, strong stone house, built by hand. Built with care, built with love. Inside, Valina prepared dinner. She moved confidently, her small hands arranging fresh fruits and bread they had grown themselves. Her soft humming filled the room, a song of peace, not fear. Outside, Marcus stacked new stones along the garden path, adding new walls to expand their home. He worked with steady hands, smiling as he heard Valina's gentle song behind him. The air was cool. A warm light glowed from their windows. Smoke from the small chimney rose into the darkening sky. As the stars appeared, Marcus stepped inside. Valina greeted him with her usual shy smile. "You work too much," she teased. Marcus chuckled. "You always say that." They sat together at the table, eating quietly, enjoying the simple life they had built. After dinner, They stepped outside, standing beneath the glowing sky. The twin moons of Nuria 6 rose together, lighting the valley in silver. The wild mountains stood calm around them. Valina looked up at the stars, then at Marcus. Her voice was soft, but full of deep emotion. I remember cold stones and crying alone. Marcus gently took her hand. I remember seeing you there, and I remember choosing to stay. Valina smiled, her eyes shining. You build me a home. You build my life. She paused for a moment, gathering courage. Marcus, will you stay as my husband? Marcus's heart swelled. He had crossed galaxies, faced danger, and defied powerful rulers. But nothing in his life had ever been more important than this moment. He squeezed her hand gently. Valina, I stayed for you from the first moment, and I will stay forever. Valina's tears fell softly, not of sadness, but of joy. They embraced under the stars, two souls from different worlds, now one family. And so, in a world that once left her forgotten on cold stones, Valina found warmth, love, and a home because one human refused to walk away, not with power, not with weapons, but with kindness.